We truly are fortunate in the fact that right off our waters, we've got these things lurking. Dun, dun, dun. Giant shrimp! Giant shrimp! Whether it's the Mayport waters or these, which actually came from Darien, you can get fresh shrimp just about year-round. And we're going to talk about what makes fresh shrimp and how you can pick it out. But what we're doing here is we're going to get a little fusion fun going in Culinary Nunnsense today. We're taking some island favorites. One of my favorite sauces, whether it's on pork or shrimp or chicken, is Mojo. It's basically a citrus sauce. So we've got our citrus set up here. The body of it is onion, and it's a sweet onion, but it's a sweated onion. So you notice that we don't have any caramelization going on here. We're just going to soften the onion until it's almost translucent. And then what I've already prepared is some pan-roasted garlic. You put oil in a pan with a lot of peeled garlic cloves over low heat, and you let it go until they start to brown and they get soft, so you can squeeze it just like butter. And then you leave it in the oil, which is called a confit, and now you've got a garlic oil to go along with it. But let's talk about the shrimp here briefly. When you're picking out the shrimp, or as my mother-in-law would say, shrimp, you want to make sure a couple of things. Number one, that the body's still intact. The head's always going to be a little bit loose, but you want to be able to give it a good tug and it's still together. You just don't want the head to come falling off in your hand. Another way to tell if it's fresh, turn it upside down and look at where the legs attach. Give them a little tug also. If these things just come popping right off, or if they've all started to lose their pink color, then you know that that shrimp has been sitting around a little bit. If you check with your favorite grocer and or your favorite fishmonger, chances are they're going to have the fresh stuff. This is what they look like once the head's popped off, and peeling them is a breeze. Just grab right around the legs and peel the shrimp away, almost kind of like you would if you were peeling a grape. What do you mean you don't peel your grapes? All right, if you were peeling the skin off a like a peanut, or even just peeling the skin off of a piece of fruit, make sure. I like to leave the tails on, because if you're serving them, a lot of them like we're going to do here, and they're guests, the tail gives you a little something to grab, dip, and eat. We're going to clean this one out in just a little bit, but let's go ahead and clean it one more time, and we'll take it from the tippy top here. We're going to pop the head off, and there goes some of the head mustard in there, which, by the way, is also some good stuff. You cook that down, smear it on a cracker, I'm going to tell you something. Now that's seafood flavor. And we're going to peel each one of those little segments off, all the way down to the thick part of the tail, and you want to leave that in place. Now, with a sharp knife, blade up, we're going to go right into the cavity that's just below the back here. We're going to continue to push the sharp edge all the way till it hits the tail. There's the tail, the crunchy part. Now we'll take the knife, we're going to open up the cavity, and we're going to use the knife just to pull out, just to pop the breakfast from the shrimp out of it. Now that we've got our shrimp clean, we're going to lightly season. We're going to add some fresh cracked pepper. We're not going to go crazy here, just a little bit. And because we're going to lightly season, I'm going to use it's a desert salt or sea salt, and it's out of a brick, but the mellow flavor is even less than that of kosher. So I'm just going to dust the top of the shrimp just with a little bit of salt here. You can see it comes down like a really fine sawdust or snow. But I love it because this stuff really does, that salt really does have the flavor of the sea, and if we're working with seafood, it just seems to make sense. A quick toss, get the salt and the pepper all over the shrimp, and now we're going to let those rest. Rest, shrimp, rest. All right, on to the rest of the mojo. It starts off with a sweated or lightly sauteed onion, and the difference here, we've done a lot of flavors where it's caramelized, so you get those dark browns. And if you look at this now, let me set this back down. You see where the bubbles are just barely coming out of the oil? Some people refer to it as twinkling. It's not quite at a boil. It's at the lowest setting you can get. But if you notice that the onions are almost now becoming see-through, translucent, this is where we want them. And the reason being, it gets them soft. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add the garlic. I've got 2 full heads here that I've already roasted, and I left it in the oil overnight. So now my oil tastes like garlic, and the garlic itself is really quite soft. So this also goes into the pan. We are going to use about a half of a cup or a third of a cup of lime juice to about a half to maybe 3/4 of a cup of lemon juice. Now that we have our juice going, let's go ahead and make our pulp over here, and it's the pulp that's going to help to bring some body and also thicken the mojo. So we're just going to take the back edge or the back side of the fork, and we're going to mush. Look how buttery that garlic is. Just mushing right between the tines here. And also you're mushing up the onion at the same time, so you're turning it into a garlic onion, and garlic oil, in this case, paste. All right, I've turned the heat up just a little bit to bring that oil back to the twinkle, just where the little bubbles are popping through from spot to spot. So let's go ahead. We're going to add our citrus juices, our lime, and our lemon. Remember, we're going to add this slowly here, just in case it does start to sizzle a little bit. There we go. Once again, it's over a little bit of light heat, but you can see as we continue to stir, our mojo is almost turning into what would be a really nice dipping paste. But for this case, it's going to be a great topping over top of an old favorite. In a hot pan, we've lightly, very lightly oiled it. And of course, we've used some of the leftover garlic oil to do that. Continue to reinforce those flavors. So let's go ahead and add our shrimp. That's the sound you want, a nice sizzle here. Give them a toss in the oil, and then we're going to let them cook. Right as the shrimp are about to end, we're going to give it just a little bit of the mojo glaze. We're not going to go crazy with the sauce. We want it to coat the shrimp. You can see how it's already getting sticky. Now, the beauty about this shrimp, and the reason that we left the tails on, is because it's a platter dish. This is meant to be thrown down in the middle of a big table, a big party, and enjoyed digging it in and eating it family style. And then right over the top, just a little bit more, we'll take that mojo and just drizzle over top of some yellow cornmeal, or in this case, it's polenta. And there you have it, a fusion meal. We've taken a little bit of grits. All right, it's the yellow grits, not the white hominy grits. We did some polenta instead of the white grits. We've got some shrimp from our local waters, and now we've got a fusion flavor. We've brought the islands to it with some of that mojo. Oh. Listen, you've probably cooked shrimp a million times and have your own flavors. This is just another way to bring some island flavor to your shrimp, also keeping it a little southern there with the grits. I think if you bring some culinary nonsense to your kitchen, bring some fusion, some shrimp, and some new flavors, you too will be saying, there is none better.